9 women, 2 decades. One Hollywood A-lister whose alleged open secret is finally exploding in public. They were teenagers, some just 16, when Jared Leto, rock star frontman and Oscar-winning actor, allegedly crossed a line no fame can excuse. For years, insiders whispered, assistants rolled their eyes, and studio executives averted theirs. But now, the silence is cracking wide open. Because when you hear what these women say happened, backstage in a kilt, in a mansion hallway, even during late-night phone calls, you'll never look at the red carpet the same way again. Stick around, because the most shocking part isn't just what he's accused of doing. It's how long Hollywood let it slide. The open secret Hollywood pretended not to hear. Hollywood loves rumors the way flowers crave sunlight, whispered bits of intrigue that feed its mythology. Yet, for years, one rumor felt too dark to joke about, that Jared Leto, the chameleon star who could slip from rock god to Oscar winner overnight, had a habit of hunting much younger prey. Stylists swapped stories in hushed tones, roadies warned new hires to keep an eye on the younger ones, and every so often a frightened fan posted something cryptic online, only to delete it once the trolls arrived. Everybody knew, a veteran tour manager later admitted, but nobody wanted their name attached to it. Silence was the safer currency. Then came a single post that refused to stay buried. In 2012, 17-year-old DJ Allie Teals typed a casual bomb on Facebook. You're not really in LA until Jared Leto tries to force himself on you backstage, in a kilt and a snow hat. At first it read like indie scene banter, until she added the part about being assaulted and traumatized. Her friends believed her. The industry did not. The post sank, hidden beneath tour photos and playlist drops until Allie resurrected it on Instagram 13 years later with a sharper caption. He knew I was 17. He didn't care. In that instant, the rumor stopped being gossip and became evidence. Allie's revival hit like a flash grenade. Old forum threads lit up, journalists dug through archives, and a magazine called Airmail discovered she wasn't alone. 9 women were ready to tell eerily similar stories. Suddenly, the open secret everyone dismissed had a body count, a timeline, and a paper trail. And once one voice breaks the dam, the flood rarely stops. But Allie's story was only the first crack. Because when the next survivor stepped forward, barely 16 when she met Leto at a trendy coffee spot, things turned from unsettling to downright predatory. 9 voices, one disturbing pattern. Imagine 9 separate diary entries, scrawled years apart, different handwriting, yet echoing the same nightmare. That's what the Airmail investigation uncovered. Women who'd never met comparing details like puzzle pieces that fit too cleanly. One said the conversations turned explicit the moment he got her number. Another remembers him asking with a grin if she'd ever done anything adults do in private. Ages: 16, 17. The oldest was barely 20 when things escalated. Dates on the calendar stretch back almost 2 decades, mapping a line that follows Leto's rise from indie frontman to Oscar royalty. The backdrop changes: tour buses, charity galas, rooftop after-parties, but the choreography repeats: casual charm, rapid intimacy, then a hard swerve into territory no teenager should have to navigate. Several women swear he asked their age outright, then kept pushing anyway. His camp calls every claim baseless. The women call the denial predictable. Either way, the timeline now lives in leaked texts, backstage photos, and sworn statements that match too closely to ignore. And if those accounts feel haunting, wait until you hear what happened when a shy 16-year-old stopped for coffee on Melrose and found the Joker waiting at her table. Coffee, a movie star, and the moment everything tilted. It was a bright afternoon in 2006 at Earth Cafe, the kind of place where celebs sip oat milk lattes and nobody pretends to stare. She was 16, squeezing late homework between shifts at the register. He was 34, laughing with Ashley Olsen across the patio. When she glanced up, Jared Leto was suddenly right there, complimenting her necklace, asking her name, smiling like the cover of a fashion spread. She blurted out her age. He didn't flinch. Instead, he asked for her number, so we can keep talking about art. Minutes later, he walked back to his table and she floated home, convinced she'd just brushed against stardom. The first call came after midnight. His voice sounded thick, half asleep, or half something. Small talk lasted 30 seconds before he pivoted. Had she ever dated older guys? Ever done certain things boys her age wouldn't even know how to ask for? She laughed nervously, but he pressed harder, asking if she'd ever gone all the way, or tried, you know. She lied to make the questions stop. Calls stacked up over the next week, always late, always veering toward the forbidden. She felt equal parts special and scared. Friends squealed, parents noticed her insomnia, but she kept the secret because who would believe her? It was Jared Leto, the rock star, the future Oscar winner. Surely she must be overreacting. Only years later, scrolling through other women's stories, did she realize his lines were recycled, like a script he'd practiced on every underage fan who blinked twice in his direction. Same compliments, same midnight calls, same escalation. A pattern hidden in plain sight. But if a phone call could twist a teenager's world, imagine what happened when another 16-year-old accepted an invitation to Leto's mansion and watched him stroll in wearing absolutely nothing at all. The mansion invitation no teenager should have received. Laura LaRue was 16 when she entered Hollywood's orbit. One minute she was handing out pamphlets at a Yes on Prop 2 animal rights gala. The next, Jared Leto, 36, magnetic, untouchable, was asking where she bought her vintage boots. She blushed, told him her age, and expected the conversation to end there. Instead, he slipped her his number. "Text me," he said. "I've got a studio you'll love." 2 nights later, curiosity won. She tapped the gate code he'd sent and stepped into a house that felt more movie set than home. Spotlights on succulents, violet LED haze over the pool. Inside, Leto poured sparkling water like it was champagne and spoke to her as if the 16-year-old and the rock icon were equals. He joked about songwriting, teased her for never trying kombucha, asked if she'd ever been skinny dipping. Then he vanished down a hallway. Moments later, he reappeared, completely naked, sauntering across the marble floor, offering no explanation, acting as though shock were the most natural reaction in the world. Laura's mind froze. Is this normal? Is this how adults flirt? She forced a laugh she didn't feel, and he smiled as if satisfied with the confusion he'd sparked. The evening blurred. Playful dares, lingering stares, questions that tumbled just shy of overt. No touch she could call assault, yet every minute felt like a test of how far she'd bend. When she finally left, heart racing, she told herself she'd witnessed nothing illegal, just eccentricity. But deep down, she knew a boundary had been crossed the moment he strolled through that doorway unclothed, utterly certain no one would call him out. Years later, seeing her story mirrored by girls she'd never met, Laura realized it wasn't eccentricity at all. It was a calculated ritual. Same invite, same dazzling lights, same naked walkthrough, designed to blur innocence into silence. And if one private mansion felt dangerous, imagine the energy when Leto packed that same house with 60 young women, shut the doors, and declared the pool clothing optional. That party scene is next, and the imbalance is hard to ignore. Pool parties, power imbalance, and the house that never slept. Word traveled fast among LA's nightlife promoters. If Jared Leto invited you to a Hills party, expect a scene straight out of a music video, just minus the chaperones. Former guests remember a surreal ratio, 60 very young women to maybe 5 men, most of them orbiting Leto like satellites. Phones were politely collected at the door for privacy, lights were set to moody violet, and someone always suggested skinny dipping before midnight. First-timers described the atmosphere as thrilling, then disorienting. One college freshman recalls stepping onto the patio and realizing half the girls wore bracelets from that night's 18-plus club, still ink-stamped, probably underage. Leto drifted from group to group in silk pajama pants, cracking inside jokes that made newcomers feel instantly chosen. A shy 17-year-old swore she heard him whisper, "Age is just a social construct. Music is ageless." Skinny dipping wasn't really optional. After 20 minutes of small talk, someone would shout, "Pool time," and girls who hesitated got nudged by peers already stripping down. Leto rarely jumped in first. He preferred the vantage point from a chaise lounge, towel draped like a throne, laughing at every splash. An assistant passed out dark towels, easy to see through when wet, then gathered them up, leaving some girls scrambling for cover under LA's neon sky. By 3 a.m., the party thinned to a core circle. That's when, according to multiple sources, the vibe flipped from playful to predatory. Leto would tap a shoulder, murmur, "Let's talk inside," and vanish down the hallway that Laura LaRue knew too well. No one asked why he always chose the youngest-looking faces. People just poured another drink and told themselves it wasn't their business. But one woman did follow him down that hallway after she finally turned 18, and what she says happened behind that door crosses every line of consent. Her account is graphic, unsettling, and it's coming up next. Suspicious content. Spit on it. When grooming turns graphic. She'd been texting with Jared Leto since she was 17. Flirty emojis, late-night compliments, and questions that tiptoed past PG-13. Every time she reminded him she was still a minor, he'd send a winking face and write, "Countdown's on." The moment she turned 18, an invite popped up. "Birthday hang at mine. Just us. Celebrate properly." Nerves buzzing, she told herself the power dynamic would finally level out. It didn't. Leto greeted her barefoot in a kimono, led her to a dim studio filled with vintage guitars, and cued soft trip-hop that swallowed awkward silence. For 10 minutes, they talked music. Minute 11, he leaned back, unbelted the kimono, and, without a word, exposed himself. She laughed, thinking it was a joke. He didn't laugh back. He began touching himself, eyes locked on hers, narrating in a low whisper, "Bet the little boys you hang with can't handle this." She froze, heartbeat hammering. Then he took her wrist, gently but firmly, placed her hand on him, and murmured, "Spit on it." Time fractured. She remembers pulling away, stammering that she wasn't comfortable. He sighed, as if disappointed in a shy method acting or red flag. The Joker's disturbing gift bags. When Jared Leto slid into the purple and green skin of the Joker for Suicide Squad, headlines gushed over his total immersion. Co-stars told reporters he never broke character, but what fans remember most isn't the performance. It's the packages that showed up on set. A dead pig, sticky Playboy mags, bullets, and, if rumors are true, used condoms labeled "ha-ha." Some actors laughed it off as over-the-top commitment. Others looked queasy. Adewale Akinnuoyegbaaje, Killer Croc, later said the pig actually bonded the cast. Us against him. Leto swears the condom story is fake, yet admits he mailed props meant to be absurd, outrageous, funny. Problem is, funny to him sounds a lot like traumatizing to everyone else. Zoom out and a pattern appears. Private kinks disguised as performance art, boundary pushing framed as creativity. The same man who asks a teenager to spit on it is the one who ships bodily fluid jokes to coworkers and calls it method. Fans cheered the dedication. Critics now wonder if Hollywood mistook warning signs for artistic genius. Because when you normalize shock in public, it's a short step to justifying it in private. And that raises the question no studio wants to touch. Did the industry reward behavior it should have red flagged? Up next. Leto's camp fires back. Blanket denials, counterclaims, and a defense strategy that says more about power than innocence. Stay with me, because silence, in this case, might be the loudest admission of all. Denials, deflections, and the Hollywood PR machine. Within hours of the airmail exposé dropping, Jared Leto's team unleashed its counter-narrative. 3 tight paragraphs of legal polish. Flat denial. Mr. Leto has never engaged in inappropriate conduct with anyone at any time. Reverse blame. One accuser later applied to be his personal assistant. Proof, his lawyers claim, that her story lacks credibility. She calls that gaslighting nonsense. Character shield. Mr. Leto has been sober for over 35 years, as if abstaining from tequila magically rules out predatory behavior. Notice what's missing. No direct address of the underage claims, no acknowledgement of the identical text threads, no explanation for the naked walkthroughs or the ritual kimono scene. Just blanket denials and a reminder that Hollywood still sees profit in his name. Meanwhile, Leto himself stays silent. No video statement, no sit-down interview, just a string of public appearance photos where he grins in designer sunglasses, as if scandal were a pop-up ad he can swipe away. Inside circles say the strategy is simple. Drag things out, let public attention drift, and trust that blockbuster box office numbers shout louder than 9 frightened women. But 2025 audiences have learned a new trick. Screenshots never forget. Every leaked DM, every resurfaced post, every countdown text lives forever in the cloud. The longer Leto refuses to speak, the louder the evidence starts talking for him. When a whisper becomes a wake-up call. For years, Jared Leto's reputation shimmered like a stage light, bright enough to blind anyone squinting for cracks. But 9 women just switched on the house lamps, and the scene underneath is impossible to unsee. Their stories overlap in place, timing, and tone. The late-night calls, the mansion corridor, the towel-only pool parties, the ritualistic shock tactics disguised as method. One account might look like rumor. 9 form a pattern too precise to chalk up to coincidence. Yet the bigger indictment isn't one actor's alleged appetite. It's the ecosystem that kept the whispers soft. Agents who shrugged, assistants who fetched phone numbers, executives who weighed risk against opening weekend grosses. Each choice by itself felt small. Together they built a fortress where a teenager could stand, naked and confused, while adults poured champagne downstairs. So here's the question every red carpet insider now has to answer. If this was truly an open secret, how many people decided silence was easier than scrutiny? And if they stayed quiet for Leto, who else are they staying quiet for right now?
Hollywood loves redemption arcs. Maybe Leto will step out with a carefully scripted apology tour, or maybe he'll double down behind legalese until the box office numbers speak louder than the headlines. Either way, the culture that enabled him has a choice. Keep protecting profit, or admit the cost of looking away was always charged to someone else's trauma. If you believe these 9 voices deserve better than a PR spin cycle, keep the spotlight on. Like the video, share it, talk about it offline. Every view is one less place for secrets to hide.